think I started listening to punk when I was maybe 14 or 13 or 14. Before that, I was into more like Skid Row and Bon Jovi and Motley Crue, and then I discovered, yeah, and then I discovered that there was something more real and more like what I was looking for. Um, so I started listening to punk bands when I was 14, 15, like bands like Subhumans and the Ramones and Sex Pistols and more like the old school punk bands. And then when I discovered like more of the 90s East Bay scene, like 15 and Crimshrine and Jawbreaker and all that, then I really wanted to be part of that and sing in a band like that. I didn't know if I could sing, so at first when I was 16, I started booking bands, booking shows around Montreal and in my hometown in the suburbs. And then when I was 17, I started my first band, which was more like a ska punk thing, like Operation Ivy type thing. And then at 18, I started the Sainte Catherines. I did this till I was 31. I mean, it was pretty natural for us. Like before I knew like the DIY scene existed, it's just for me it was natural to do myself something that I liked doing. So that's pretty much what I did. I wanted to have shows in my hometown, so I organized them, and I wanted to see bands from out of town in Montreal, so I had them come here to play, but I didn't know it was part of anything. I just wanted to do it. The same thing when starting a band. I wanted to sing in a band, so like we did it, and then we wanted to record, so we didn't know anyone that records, so we did it ourselves, and then we wanted to release a CD, and we didn't know anyone that did that, so we did it ourselves. But it wasn't really like a decision, let's be part of DIY. It was just more like, we don't know anything, so let's do it ourselves. We'll learn that way. It's something that is, I mean, it's different enough that if you want to do it, especially from a young age, you're gonna face people telling you that it sucks, telling you that it's not cool, telling you that it's worthless and all that. So if you're really into it and you really want to do it, I think you have to step into the DIY, because like I said, when you're 15 and you live in the suburbs and you want to organize a show, I mean, you got to do it yourself. Like, nobody's going to help you. There's not going to be a company saying, all right, we'll do it and we'll share the profits. It's going to be do it or don't do it. So I think it is DIY in that sense, but now it's kind of hard to know what it means, and it became I think kind of, people throw it here and there to describe a sound or describe a scene that I don't think really exists. I mean, it's, some hip hop artists are more DIY than a lot of punk bands, or some super indie or techno bands are more DIY than other punk bands. So for me, it's not super important now.
So, do you consider the commercialization of punk a bad thing? Do you get what I mean?
No, I think it's a natural thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, like, you can't control stuff like that, and I think it's kind of stupid to get angry about stuff like that. I mean, life is too short to get angry about punk bands signing to major labels. I mean, I like the artistic aspect of it more than I like the commercial aspect of it, but I mean, if something is, you can't really control things like that. I don't think like anybody thought that when Green Day started in whatever 1988 that they would be like superstars with a show on Broadway. It's like it's stuff that happens. Everyone likes your band at the same time, and then you become super popular. But I don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, you have only one life, and good for them and good for the people involved.
Do whatever you want, huh?
Exactly. I started Sainte Catherines when I was 18. So just to be in a van with my friends and going around and playing shows and dumpster diving to get food and stealing at the grocery store was super romantic and cool. And so yeah, we were struggling in a way, but I think it was part of the fun, and I think it made us grateful for whatever we got after. When things got better, we were more happy about it, I think, than if we would have had everything from the start. And it made us learn about ourselves and learn about people around us, and it made us, I think, probably better friends just from sharing like shitty days, you know. And but no, it wasn't hard keeping things together. Like every 3-4 years we would say like, oh fuck man, like let's stop this shit. But then something amazing would happen, like Against Me would invite us on tour, or Leatherface would invite us on tour, and we'd be like, all right, let's keep going. So yeah, at the end it was just like, after 13 years we thought we did everything that we could do with the band, you know, so that's why we stopped. For me, like, I got super jaded about politics really young. I mean, I'm not surprised, like, at all, like, when I hear things like that. I'm even surprised that other people are surprised when I see, like, my God, politicians stealing. It's like, come on, man, like, why do you think they're politicians? Like, that's why they do politics. Like, that's why they get there. They want power, they want money, they want fame, they're not there to help people. If I knew that like politics was there to, like, politicians were there to help, I would definitely follow it. But every time I tried to, it was always felt like it was just a bunch of dudes like working at a corporation, like you know. So I'm not surprised, and it's not something I really follow anymore. It's I'm more interested in art in general than in anything that's related with politics. Like, personally, I grew up in a suburb, and when I was 14 and 15, feeling alone and lost, punk was what saved me from going insane. And I was reading the lyrics to all those bands, and I could relate, and I could be like, all right, there's other people like me somewhere, and I don't think it matters where the music was made. I didn't even know, and I think a lot of bands I like and listen to are not necessarily from big cities. I mean, I don't even know where they're from, so I don't think it's fair to say that. Man, I mean, what I think is different from, let's say, the States or even Europe is probably the mix of the European culture and the American culture, which is what's different about Quebec in general, not just the punk scene. The fact that we have first French singing bands, French speaking bands that sing in English, and also just the whole open-mindedness of the French culture and the Quebec culture makes it a lot different than everywhere else. But I don't think there's an actual Montreal sound like for the punk scene. I think it's getting a lot better lately. There's a lot of good bands now from here, and I think like the open-mindedness and the fact that it's a small market that is not really, people start bands here not thinking that they're gonna sign to a big label and make it like as a living. So I think that's a big difference, because there's always the crossing the borders factor, which is hard, and there's no like big labels from here. There's no like big like festivals or big like tour like companies and shit. So that's what makes it different, I think.
They didn't have that range.
I mean, some people do, but it's not like, as when you meet American bands and even bands from Ontario. When we were young, we made fun of that a lot. Like, you would meet a band and they'd be like, "So, are you guys signed?" It was always like the first question, "Are you guys signed?" It's like, well, no, man. Like, signed to what? Like, it was we just play shows, and yeah. When we started, it was pretty strong, and we had a super good venue called Lex, which was like all ages, and there was all kinds of shows and all kinds of bands and young kids going and all that. Then there was like a big, like a good 6-7 years.
I think it closed like before.
It closed in 2004, I think. And then for a couple years it wasn't so good, and I think now, like for the last 4 or 5 years maybe, it became a lot better. A lot of super good bands come from here, and a lot of bands started touring more too, like which was like when the Sainte Catherines toured early like 2000, like there wasn't a lot of bands from here touring, like us and Fifth Our Hero and Born Dead Icons were like the ones that we always like hear, and now like all those bands from here that are super good go to Europe and they go to the States and they try, and I think that makes it more exciting. And I think like before, when I was younger, bands from here had I don't know how do you say that, but like some kind of they were kind of shy about being a band from Quebec, and now I think they're proud of it, which is a big difference. I mean, just like, thinking they were not as good as American bands, like thinking, oh, we're just, a small band from Quebec. But I think now, like, they realize that it doesn't really change anything. It's just that.
Did you feel that when you started?
Me personally?
Yeah.
No.
Or about your band?
No.
Yeah. Cool.
No. I mean, I didn't compare. I'm not that kind of person. I don't compare what I do. I just try to do my best, and we try to do our best with our band. But we never thought like we didn't have like that inferiority complex that I think a lot of bands from here had at that time. We just did what we had to do, but I didn't think about that. I mean, when something is new, it's a lot more like powerful. Even a band, when you start a band and then it becomes popular, it's always super exciting. 10 years later, the same band that is as good or better is never as exciting as it was when it started. So I think the movement is the same. I don't think the punk movement will ever be like as exciting. When it started, it was like the new thing, punk, and you see it on TV and people were scared of it, and like you see punks like trashing cars and shit. I don't think it's ever going to be like that anymore, because everyone has seen it. Like, like I saw punk when I was 5-year-old, and my son that is 5-year-old now, he's seen punk since he was like 6 months old. He's never going to be like, oh my God, a guy with a mohawk, like everyone has seen it now. It's not exciting anymore.
Yeah, it's mainstream.
Well, it's not, it's just part of the culture. It's the same thing as hip hop. Like, I mean, when it started, people were all like, what the fuck is this shit? But now everyone knows it. It's on the radio. It's everywhere. I think it's the same. No, I don't think it's ever going to be like as exciting, but it's never going to die, because there's too many people like passionate about it, and it's too like good to die. Well, I was lucky enough to start really young, and that's all I know pretty much. So my job is actually punk, so that's kind of cool. But it's hard. I mean, it's hard every day. But I organize shows, and we do Pouzza FEST, and I do another band, and like that's how I make a living with all those together. But I think that I mean, it was never part of the it was never part of the deal, to think, could it be a job or no? I mean, when you're passionate about something, it doesn't have to be punk. I mean, it could be anything, like painting or whatever, dancing. I think if you like it enough and your heart is into it, I don't think you think about the making a living aspect of it. You just do it because you have to do it. It's like writers. If you're a writer, you don't need like the perfect conditions, and you don't need to have the perfect lighting, and you don't need to find the perfect spot to write. I think if you're a natural writer and that's all you do, that's what you do, and that's what you have to do, you're gonna write like laying on the street. I think it's the same thing with punk, and it's the same thing with music. If that's what you want to do, and it's in you, you're gonna do it, whatever it costs you, and whatever, you're gonna lose friends, you're gonna lose girlfriends, you're gonna lose jobs, you're gonna lose a lot of things, money, a lot of it.
First of all, yeah.
But I think if your heart is into it, you're gonna do it anyway.